Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us again, especially as we are aware of the extra workload you have at this time of year. So today's session is going to cover some of the recent updates that come out of Redmond, primarily from the Inspire Partner Conference that was last week, and also from the Build Conference a few weeks earlier. So this is going to leave me with a lot to cover. So any questions, drop them into chat as we go along, or we'll probably have time at the end, hopefully. So let's get started. Okay, so when Microsoft thinks of education, they look at 4 pillars. The first pillar is accelerating your learning with things like Teams and Copilot, especially now. The next 2 pillars we've addressed several times in our webinars. This looks at management and security. This uses tools like Intune, Defender, and Sentinel to protect your important data, such as your research work and personal information. And that's quite important these days, as education is one of the highest risk areas when it comes to attacks from malicious users. Then the next pillar they consider is improving efficiency. This is about the effectiveness of your infrastructure and the and how Azure and AI can make your organization more agile and able to cope quicker with changes in requirements. And finally, the final pillar is for preparing students for the future. Some of the new learning accelerators, which I'll just mention, and skilling comes into this with MS Learn. So if we look at the Microsoft 365 stack, IT are mainly concerned with the bottom layer, which is the core components of your infrastructure, including Windows, Azure, Intune, Defender, everything you use in your day-to-day management of the network. However, there's a couple of education-specific tools in there. One is School Data Sync. This allows you to sync data from MIS systems into Teams for Education to populate things like classes and everything like that that's going on. You also have Intune for Education, which makes it easier to manage your devices and applications. However, you also get the full-fledged Intune, which a lot of you will be using. And if we move up the M365 stack, then you've got accessibility solutions. This includes tools such as the Immersive Reader, Translator, voice typing, all these tools to help all your students become included in the learning experience. Then the instructional tools. We're all aware of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. These are tools we use on a day-to-day basis. But from an education point of view, there's OneNote Class Notebook. There's Minecraft for Education and Teams for Education, which is only available in academic tenancies, which is for which is an LMS system in its own right. Okay, there's a new layer now, what Microsoft call learning accelerators. Basically, they're based on artificial intelligence, and they provide tools such as Reading Progress and Reading Coach. This gives students personal help with their reading, providing more difficult tasks based on how they perform with these tasks, and also providing feedback then to teachers on things like what words they're finding difficult, so they can be incorporated into lessons, for instance. There's a similar tool for maths progress to help with their numeracy. So the benefit of this tools is that students can get help with their learning while there's no actual teachers there available. So, you know, in the evenings they can practice their reading and their maths. And another tool is Search Progress and Search Coach. This is to assist them with searching in Bing and Google and helping them to identify the best results, not just go for the one on the top of the list, and getting them to better information, helping them identify what is the best results for them. And on the top then as well, you can see education insights or analytics based on this information. So if we look at these learning accelerators, they're all included in education tenancies from Office 365 A1 up to A5. Education Insights is also included in these plans, and it provides feedback in Teams for Education on things like the progress of students, how they're coping with assessments, what they are finding difficult, so they can assist their students accordingly. Now, Education Insights is in Teams and provides feedback on a lesson basis. Now, there's also Education Insights Premium. This is included in all the plans now, and it amalgamates data across lessons to the whole school or even multiple schools, such as an academy, to give a holistic view of what's going on and the students' progress. There's also now a tool primarily for higher education, but not just for higher education, that uses open education analytics. This allows you to report across multiple educational systems to gather data together. Now, also there's Viva Insights to provide you with more analytics as well. So the final pillar, you have skilling, which helps educate your staff and students on how to use Microsoft technology. There are two sites of particular interest here, the Microsoft Learn Educator Center and Microsoft Learn for Educators. These provide all the training you are going to need on Microsoft technologies, including things like MCP training, to help you get certifications to prove your expertise. These two sites are what has replaced what was called Microsoft Imagine. And all education establishments from schools up to HEFE have access to these sites. So that covers the sort of two learning pillars, but there's plenty of news as well on the two management and efficiency pillars. Starting with Microsoft 365 Backup. Microsoft are releasing a new tool which will allow you to back up OneDrive, SharePoint, and Exchange data from within the Office 365 Admin Center. You can back up the service as a whole tenant, or you can select individual SharePoint sites, OneDrive accounts, or mailboxes. You also then have the ability to restore this data in parallel to their original locations if needed. Let's say you've been unlucky and received a ransomware attack, or someone has accidentally deleted a mailbox, for instance. So that's to be released. Also, there's Microsoft 365 Archive. This is going to allow you to move your SharePoint data into lower cost storage based on things like your compliance requirements and retention policies. Maybe not as important in education because the amount of SharePoint data you have, but it wouldn't surprise me that some people are looking at cheaper, lower cost storage for their data. So you can archive and reactivate full SharePoint sites. And even though this data is moved, it will retain all its original properties from the original location, such as permissions, etc. All this can be done within the SharePoint user interface. Later on next year, Microsoft will also be introducing file-level archiving to the solution. Now, on top of introducing these two products, Microsoft have also released APIs for backup and archive. And they're working with vendors such as Veeam and Barracuda, who will be able to now deliver more feature-rich solutions for you in the future for Microsoft 365 backup. Neither of these solutions is currently available, but they're estimated to be in preview towards Q4 of this year, so towards the end of the year. Okay, another one. Some of you may already have noticed this, as messages are already showing up when you go to the Azure Admin Center. I'll notice this one. Yeah. So the big news is Azure AD is being renamed to Entra ID. So with Office 365 A1, you'll get Entra free. With Microsoft 365 A3, you will get Entra ID P1. With A5, it will be Entra ID P2. And as before, they can also be purchased standalone if need be. There is no change of functionality. It's just a name change to bring Azure AD in line with the Entra family. The completion of this name change is due towards the end of this year. But as I said, it is already showing up with messages in the Office 365 tenancy. I saw them this morning. So what is Entra then? Well, Entra is a family name for a set of products from Microsoft for protecting identity and access. As I mentioned, you will be familiar with Entra ID or Azure AD because you've been using it for years to manage your users. However, Entra is a whole suite of products, and these technologies were introduced last year, including functionality like external IDs, ID governance, and permissions management. However, Microsoft have now just introduced some new functionality. The first one being Entra Internet Access, which provides an identity-centric secure web gateway. That's a mouthful, but it protects access to the internet, to SaaS apps and resources. It uses conditional access policies with network conditions. So this helps you protect against malicious internet traffic. It's currently in preview, so you can try it now for Microsoft 365 apps. But for other SaaS apps and resources, this will be introduced later this year. The other new technology then is Entra Private Access. This uses zero trust network access for your private apps and resources in hybrid and multi-cloud environments, and it replaces the need for legacy VPNs. You can apply conditional access policies and apply MFA to legacy apps. Again, this functionality is currently in preview, so you can try it now. Then just to complete the picture, there's a Entra External ID, which allows you to manage external users and partners. Entra ID governance to protect, monitor, and audit access to your network. Workload ID is for protecting apps and services, similar to service accounts previously. And then permissions management is for managing permissions across multiple clouds. So lots of identity functionality available from Microsoft, but the two new ones are internet access and private access. Okay, Microsoft Purview. There's no major announcements here for Purview, but it was discussed several times during the conference. The reason being its importance in getting your data organized in a satisfactory way in order to complete a successful Copilot implementation. What came over loud and clear is that you shouldn't jump in and just implement Copilot or AI until you are confident you have proper data governance in place. If you do not, then you can easily end up with users getting access to data they shouldn't. Nobody wants the principal's files to end up in general circulations, because that would stop any AI project in its tracks. So Purview will assist you with getting your data in order for this AI revolution, as Microsoft call it. So some of the main tasks you have are getting all your data, identifying all your data sources, and identifying categories for those documents that will meet your needs. And then you can use sensitivity labels to tag these documents based on how you categorize them. You also need to assess your users' access rights to all your document repositories, because this will be important as to what data they will access to in AI. So once you've properly added permissions and added your sensitivity labels, you can then go ahead and use several of the Purview technologies. So you can use retention labels, where you define how long different types of data are stored, either for compliance reasons or for data retention, in conjunction with Microsoft 365 Archive, which we discussed earlier, if you want. Then there's data loss protection technology in there, which will allow you to create policies for the cloud, for your endpoints, non-Microsoft sites, and on-premises repositories. But recapping all of this, the most important thing is to get the permissions correct and your documents categorized before you start on any AI project. Talking of AI, one of the biggest announcements was for Bing Chat. Now, Bing Chat has been available for some time now, and anybody can use conversational AI while they browse the internet. But Microsoft added quite a cool new feature. They've added image search functionality to Bing Chat. Now, image search functionality means you can upload an image to Bing, and Bing will search for relevant information based on what is in that image. So that's coming to Bing Chat very soon. It might even be there. But probably one of the biggest announcements was for organizations that need Bing Chat Enterprise functionality, but against their internal data. So Bing Chat Enterprise will help them get their work done quicker, but with the knowledge that the data is safe and doesn't leave their network. Microsoft does this because they don't save any of the chats that you have, and they don't use those chats to train your underlying data. Bing Chat Enterprise is currently in preview, so you can try it out now. But remember to consider, is your establishment ready for AI? Bing Chat Enterprise will be free of charge to M365 customers, but there will be a paid standalone feature in the future if you're a school with just Office 365, for instance. Some more information on AI. They mentioned Azure AI Studio, which you can use to create your own AI apps. And this will be based on numerous data models that are included in Azure. So something to look at if you're looking at creating your own AI apps. So Copilot, you all will have heard about several times now. No real news here, apart from support for additional apps such as OneNote and Whiteboard, and an announcement on cost for commercial customers. How this will affect you in education, we are none the wiser, unfortunately. So we still have to watch this space. But as soon as we hear something, we let you know. Okay, a quick update. I've mentioned this a few times before. Microsoft will be blocking the Teams Room devices that use an A1 or an A3 license. It was from the end of July, but they've pushed this back now until the 30th of September. So what you will need to do on the 30th of September or before is to make sure that you've got Teams Room Basic license or Teams Room Pro. Now, you can have 25 Teams Room Basic licenses free of charge. Anything above that needs to be Teams Room Pro, or if you need some of the additional functionality in Teams Room Pro, you will need that license. Okay, my final slide, not specifically from Microsoft, but I thought it was worth talking about. So most educational establishments struggle to get 24/7 by 365 support, which is quite important when you look at security. This is based on lack of staff and the cost of getting security expertise on board, really. But what Sophos are offering, they're offering an MDR solution or a managed security solution on your behalf for 24/7, but not on Sophos technologies, on your Microsoft technologies a lot of you may have implemented. So it gives you an extra layer of support for those scenarios. if you're interested in the Sophos offerings, get in touch with your account managers, Barry, Kerry, or Nathan, and they will give you more information. We are looking to cover this in a future webinar, so if it's of interest, keep a lookout on this. Okay, that's it for now. So we won't be running a webinar in August, but we'll start again in September, which is the third Wednesday in September, when we hope to have Entra to discuss their service offerings. Okay, so not a lot of time left, but any questions there, Chris?